We got some great announcement today. I'm joined, of course, I think you saw the First Lady of Florida is here with us. We also have our Commerce Secretary, Alex Kelly. We have the President and CEO of the Florida Chamber, Mark Wilson, President and CEO of Career Force Florida, Adrian Johnson, Senator Jay Collins from right here in Tampa, doing a great job. David Nicholson from TECO Energy, and Dominique James. She's a participant in the Hope Florida initiative. Before I get into that, we are in a situation in Florida where if you go back when I became governor 2019, we've had more growth in our economy here than every state in the country, except by a little bit Idaho as a percentage. Now, we obviously have grown a lot more in terms of real terms, but you've seen, really strong economic growth. That's generated a lot of opportunities for people, such that our unemployment rate has been lower than the national average for, I think, like the last 4 years, which is something that's really, really positive. We used to not necessarily outstrip the nation. Now we do, and so you're seeing that, which has been a big success. Another thing that Mark Wilson reminded me of is if you go back 2019 till now, there's 200,000 fewer kids growing up in poverty in Florida. And I think that's just the reality of we've actually had a good economy. There have been opportunities for people. We've stood by that. Education opportunities, which is really significant. So, and we've been ranked #1 economy by both CNBC and by U.S. News and World Report the last 2 years. And that wasn't always the case in Florida. If you look at our budget, since I became governor, if you take all the debt that the state accumulated over 180 years, we've retired 41% of that just since I've been in office. And so that is actually running surpluses, paying down debt. We even did an accelerated debt repayment program so that we retire it earlier for cheaper and then save hundreds of millions of dollars for taxpayers on interest costs. And that's been something that's been a really big success. So our debt per capita is the lowest in the country. And I think your share as a Florida resident, if we just divvied it up and sent everyone a bill, which obviously would never happen, but if we did that, I think it'd be like $400 per person. Now, if the federal government decided to divvy up the national debt and send a bill to every American, it'd be over $105,000 that you would owe as an American for that, and unfortunately rising every day. So we've done really well on that, but also on surplus and reserves. We've nearly quadrupled the rainy day fund since I've been governor. When I came in, I think it was about $1.5 billion. It's now getting close to $5 billion. So we're maybe even more than that. I gotta look at the latest figures. So that's part of it is, you're doing things well, but then you do have that cushion there. And then we have many billions of dollars in addition to that in reserves and have had these really strong surpluses. But, we're running these surpluses and, you don't want to run deficit, obviously. We have to balance our budget in Florida, so it doesn't even come to that. But you also don't really want to run, too big a surplus, because then it's like, okay, well, what you should be tax relief, all this stuff. And we have done record tax relief. Now, we don't have income tax, and we won't have one. But, and so it's a little harder to find, because if we had income tax, we would just cut it or try to eliminate it. So we've done all kinds of tax relief, billions and billions of dollars, which has been good, and it's been helpful. But we also took the opportunity to do things that the state needed to be done, not recurring programs, not creating, dependency, but like, what do we need? So we've accelerated a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of these road projects. I was just driving on I-4 in Polk County, and we did this 8 months ahead of schedule. We did this additional lane, and that's just temporary to be able to bring the full project to fruition. But you actually go better now as a result of that. There were projects that needed to be done with bad traffic now that weren't even scheduled to start for another 10 or 15 years. We started them all under Moving Florida Forward with like a $7-8 billion infusion. Now these things are going to be done 5 to 10, 15 years ahead of schedule. And that means a lot of savings of time and also for the economy. So we've done really big on infrastructure. We've also done very big on environment, restoration of Everglades, springs, beaches. We've never had a run like we've had since I've been governor in Florida. I think we're going to be able to continue that. They still haven't done a budget, but that's something that's very, very important to a lot of people. So we've done that. And the thing is, you build, like we're going to do the ribbon cutting for the C-43 reservoir, at some point this month or next month, I think. And for those of people, it's, we're a little further north to have a major impact of that. But, the Army Corps of Engineers, if Lake Okeechobee gets too high, they start spewing water into the rivers. And, some parts of the year, it's fine to do that to the Caloosahatchee, like in the winter. But as you get into the summer, you put nutrients, all this stuff, it could exacerbate problems. Well, now you have this big reservoir that will clean the water. Then if you need to send, it doesn't make it, at that point, it's not a big deal because it's clean water. And people have been asking for this for a long time. So that'll come online. We did the one on the other side of the lake as well. We're working on the one south. We've done our part on the south of the lake. We need the feds to give us more authority to handle that. But those are really big things that we've done, even while paying down debt, even while running surpluses, even while cutting taxes. And then education. In Florida, we have the #1 ranked higher education system in America. I mean, for many years running now. And if you're a Florida resident, what is the cost to go to any of these universities? It's like $6,300. You can't match that anywhere in the country. In fact, some of these public universities cost way more than that, even for in-state. And of course, now it's like if you even get into University of Florida, for example, you probably qualify for Bright Futures anyways, which is free tuition or at least 75% tuition. So that's been something that's been really significant. And then the K-12, we've done more money for teacher salaries just since I've been governor in Florida's ever done, billions of dollars and all that. So it's a success story in terms of how to manage this stuff. We're doing well now, but even if the economy has turbulence, we've prepared for that, and that's really what you should do. Now, we're always looking for ways to do even better. That's one of the reasons why we've unleashed a state DOGE team on our universities to be able to identify ways that we can do. And unfortunately, there have been federal grants that have been authorized. Not, we weren't involved in my office. Some of the DEI stuff. So those have been canceled, sent back to Elon. There's also been other things that we've done. When Biden was president, he put in, they did this infrastructure bill, and you get the bill, and they try to give you money, but then you got to jump through all these hoops. Like I have to monitor tailpipe emissions for Florida drivers. I am not doing that. I'm not doing the woke roads. I'm not doing any of that. And so we rejected. Well, when our Florida Department of Transportation told them, hey guys, we're rejecting the highway money, you guys take it, they didn't even know they didn't know what to do because no one had done that. And there was other money, hundreds of millions, almost $1 billion total and all this stuff during those Biden years that we didn't utilize, or that we didn't want to utilize because, first of all, to change your behavior just to get some crumbs from the federal government, that's not what you want to do. And so we said no. So Elon was like, hey, we'll figure out a way. They got a guy on Treasury on the phone, and within a day they got it done, and we were able to help with that. But we're also doing that, looking very seriously at all our universities, as well as state agencies using artificial intelligence, because we do this as a matter of course, but you have some technology that can be put to use. So we're doing that too. We've done a lot since I've been governor anyways, but we're also working with local governments. A number of local governments have volunteered to have DOGE efforts on their county or cities. A number of them do not want to volunteer for that. And so we're working to hopefully get some more prescriptive authority to be able to do. I mean, I think, did you guys see the headline? Someone was passing it around, Tampa Bay area homeowners, 23% property tax increase. And I'm just thinking to myself, why would you be having to pay more property taxes? And so these local governments, I think, when property values go up, they can change assessments, they can get in more revenue. It's interesting, if the housing market tanks, are they going to rush in to revise your valuation downward? I don't think so. I don't think, maybe, if that happens, hopefully we don't have, economic issues, but if that happens and people actually revise downward, and so your home that ballooned from 400,000 to 800,000, if they're going to revise that back down, let me know. But I don't think that's what they do. I think they'll keep it there, and it really pinches a lot of people. So you see that, and you're just like, man, what are they doing with the gusher of money? And I tell you, I think a lot of these local governments have spent too much money over the past 4 or 5 years. So the question is that the level of spending we want to continue to see, or do we want to go back to a more moderate level? Obviously, we'll do public safety and education and that, but I think there's been a lot of bureaucracy and bloat that's grown up around that really isn't necessary for taxpayers. Because if we don't think some of that stuff, the bureaucracy and the bloat is necessary, then you have an opportunity to relieve burdens on property tax. And so we're working very hard on that. I think you ought to be able to own your home. To say that you buy a home and then every year for the rest of your life, they're just going to keep sending you a bill, and you could pay taxes for 30 years, and then somehow if you can't afford it one year, they're going to come and take your property? That's not the American way, and it doesn't need to happen in Florida, given that we have all these other sources with the visitors and people that are doing all those other things. But the DOGE, I think, is really important to provide clarity and transparency on what's going on with local governments, and to show that this property tax, the property tax relief, is not only necessary, but it is feasible as well. So we're working on that, and we're proud of that. Another way that we've saved money is not by creating a new program, not by asking for more tax dollars to try to solve social problems that tax dollars have not been able to solve in the past, but to actually reimagine what our existing agencies are doing, and that's really the genesis of Hope Florida. And you'll actually hear people say, oh, the Hope Florida agency, it's not an agency. If you don't know that, you're ignorant. If you're writing that, then you're doubly ignorant, because it doesn't take long to figure this out. It's not a bureaucracy. It's an approach to how government agencies should serve the people that they represent. For too long, you've had agencies, particularly when it comes to means-tested benefits, their job, if you're in one of those positions, is to process benefits, figure out what people are qualified for, get them on benefits, and to try to do that. And I understand that. That hasn't been very successful at really broadening horizons. And so Hope Florida takes that old, outdated approach and transforms it, so the folks that are in there now interacting with people in need, their job's not to just try to get them on all these programs, or even the job is in some ways to avoid doing that if you can, but to link them with all the resources that we have in this state exterior to government. And that means the faith-based community, that means the business community, that means the charities, and that means, of course, individuals who do volunteer. So that's the genesis of it, because if you do have somebody in need and the call goes out, and I'll talk a minute about how that happens, the call goes out in the community, if you have a church to come and help a single mom, chances are they're going to have a better chance to get on a pathway to self-sufficiency rather than just the interaction with the bureaucracy. If you have somebody that maybe got displaced and needs a place to live, having charities, having some of the faith-based, even having some of the business community involved, that's going to help people more. So there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of people that want to help, but a lot of times people in need just don't know where to turn. And so Hope Florida really serves as that nexus to be able to link people in need to the resources that are available throughout society. Now, initially there was a strong focus on child welfare, as you could imagine, and that's good. And there's been a lot of discussion, and I know the First Lady and I have gone and done events around the state, for a couple years now. And there's naturally a focus on people that are in need of food, in need of shelter, in need of child care, a roof over their head, all these things. And that's important to meet those immediate needs. But to truly get on a pathway to self-sufficiency, it's not just that you have support from the community and you're not relying on government. And in fact, Hope Florida, there have been 30,000 people that have gotten off means-tested government assistance. that save the taxpayer over $100 million annually. And I think you have a potential to do even more. So from a budget perspective, this is kind of, honestly, it's the way out of the mess that we have in Washington with how much spending and all the programs, is to transcend some of this stuff so that people have an ability to stand on their own 2 feet. But with Hope Florida, those immediate needs are important. But we also understand, if you can link somebody with the prospect of having stable employment, that is going to be something that is going to be meaningful, not just for the recipients, but also for any dependents that they may have. And that could be a lifetime worth of earnings that can really make a difference. And not everyone has skills to fit the jobs that are available, and Hope Florida does work to link you with the available skills that you can do. But certainly, there are jobs available. There are businesses that want to hire people that work hard, but a lot of times folks don't know where to turn, and they just don't know what's all out there. And so that's really where Hope Florida's partnership between Career Source Florida and the Florida Chamber of Commerce comes in. This partnership has allowed Career Source to identify businesses that are now part of the Hope Florida Employment Referral Network. And as of today, we can announce over 500 employers are offering job opportunities just through the Hope Florida initiative alone. These are companies that have volunteered to work with Career Source to share job openings with Hope Florida participants who are looking for work. Now, as part of their normal duties, Career Source, when Floridians come looking for work, the local workforce boards assist them in that search process. Through this partnership, we can now say all 21 local workforce boards now have Hope Florida liaisons dedicated to helping participants find work and support services quickly and effectively, and these navigators work directly with referred individuals. To date, over 3,000 Hope Florida participants have secured employment, with 87% achieving a wage increase after their first 6 months on the job. So this is a positive pathway forward now for thousands of Floridians, and I think in the future, thousands and thousands of more. We've also, that's kind of how Hope is helping people in need, but that's against a backdrop of our state's initiative since the day I took office to put a strong emphasis on workforce education. We're proud that we have the top public university system ranked in the country, but at the same time, a degree from a 4-year brick and ivy university is not the only way you can be successful. For many people, it's not the best way to find success, and the economy has real needs for people that have real tangible skills that may not necessarily be taught at a traditional 4-year university. And so whether it's the K-12 system, whether it's our state colleges, whether it's things like nursing schools, we went really hard on nursing because during COVID, people couldn't find nurses, and they were like, look, the state's growing, we have healthcare needs, you got to do more on nurses. And the state university system just announced major milestones have been reached on meeting the number of nurses that have been credentialed. So all these different things I think are really, really important. So that's the state's approach. I was told when I was growing up, oh, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, otherwise you won't be successful. That's just not true. Yeah, obviously, people that go to college do well. They can be successful. But some of the most successful people in our country didn't graduate from college. We have people that have found really strong pathways with vocational and technical education. And what I see, some of these guys coming out young, have skills, they go in, they do pretty good to start, but then they can end up doing their own businesses in electrical and HVAC and some of these things. It's a great opportunity for entrepreneurship as well. So this is all really, really important, and we're putting the Hope Florida against the backdrop of a state that really cares about people getting the skills they need to be successful. And I'm going to continue to work hard to make sure that we have a strong higher education. We've put a lot of emphasis on a number of major issues in our universities, and we're going to continue to do that. And I think we have an opportunity to continue to lead the way, especially with how off-kilter so much of higher education has gone around the country. Parents look at places like Columbia and they see some of the nonsense that's going on. That's not what they want. You would not want, first of all, those are very expensive places to go. Are you going to want to write a check as a parent or take out major loans as a parent or a student for massive amounts of money, to go to some indoctrination camp? It doesn't make any sense. So we feel really good about the direction that we can go, but I also know that is not even scratching the surface of the potential that's out there to just focus on universities. So we've put our money where our mouth is. We've expanded opportunities. Our goal when I took office is by 2030 be #1 in workforce education. I don't know if we could say that quite yet, but we're getting awfully close. So stay tuned on that. And now I'll turn it over to the First Lady.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and it's good to see everybody. The governor said something a second ago that I think is so true. He said that, we really do care. And at the end of the day, that is the God's honest truth. We really do care. When people ask me, they're like, why do you get involved and why do you do all of this? And sometimes I'm asking myself that question, like, why do you do all this? Part of me was like, when he was first elected, I said, well, there's something really very special about being First Lady of the state of Florida, a lot of things, but I saw very quickly that you have the ability to be able to get good people from across the state into the room to start to think differently about how we solve problems and how we help people in need. And I thought that was really very powerful and something that I wanted to make sure that I looked back and always said that I maximized, right? I didn't want to be a potted plant in the side of the room. I wanted to be able to say that, we're giving a voice to so many people that had so many good ideas about how we can think differently about problems. And then the other thing is I want to help people. Take all of the noise, take all of the chatter in class, take all of that to a side. At the end of the day, what fuels my soul, and I know so many good people who are in the room and the governor, is that you have the potential to really change the trajectory of somebody's life and to give them hope. And my goodness, does that not fill your soul with so much happiness? And so when I look at that very privileged position that I am in to be able to do this, I want to get out there in full force and talk about it and not stop and not waver. And that's one of the biggest reasons why you'll see me out there a lot today, because that's what I want to do. I had the opportunity on Friday to sit down with about 45 Hope Navigators. And these are folks that came from various agencies. Again, Hope Florida isn't an agency. It's a rewiring of how government operates. And so I got all of these folks into the room to kind of talk about, what are you up to? And first of all, these are really great people, right? They are blood, sweat, toil, and tears. They are on the phone. They are trying to come up with solutions to be able to help people who are really suffering. And that's the thing I think that's important to know too. There are people across this state who are really suffering, but we can do something about it. There's a story, very true, of an 80-year-old sitting in their car, homeless, on oxygen, didn't know where to turn, didn't know where to go, alone. Can you imagine what that would feel like to be in your car by yourself and not knowing how to get out? 80 years on this planet, and this is where you wind up? That's not fair. If the faith-based community, the private sector, our great navigators knew these people were out there, and as we are learning that they are, we're going to do everything in our power to get you out of your car, to get you help, and to give you hope that this isn't what you deserve. After a lifetime, you deserve way better than this. There's another story of a single mom of 8 kids, 8 very young kids. Didn't know what to do, was fleeing a really bad situation, and showed up at the front doorstep of our Hope Navigators. Didn't know what to do, didn't know how to take care of her kids, wasn't even in a position to start talking about education. She was fleeing a really bad situation. So the Hope Navigators triaged a plan, and they didn't just do it within government. They went out to all of the available assets that they could find. The faith-based community, the nonprofit said, we have to rally around this mom who has babies. She's trying to figure it out. What is she supposed to do? Go to the white pages or the yellow pages? That's how you know I'm dating myself, because you don't do that anymore. Whatever, you can do that. So you go to, what are you supposed to just get on Google and say, okay, I've got screaming kids over here. They're hungry. They're tired. We don't have a place to put our heads down. I'm in my car. I've got my suitcases. What do I do? Where do I go? And I would say it's incumbent upon the media who are here today. Give the phone number. If someone is suffering and they don't know where to turn, it is so easy to give a phone number, to give a lifeline to help and hope for people who don't know where to go and don't know what to do. And like I said, this is a rewiring of the way that government operates. And some people might not like it. They might not like that the faith-based community is getting involved. But it's the right thing to do. And it's also from a taxpayer's perspective. Think about this. That's free help. That's their mission in the church, is to be able to support some of the most vulnerable people in society. So why would you not want to embrace them and bring them into the equation? Imagine, too, the emotional connection, because I think a lot of times folks get caught up in the numbers and they look at, okay, whatever the calculus is with budget. How about the human component of it? Imagine what happens if you have somebody sitting home by themselves, a veteran who's fought for this country, who has dang near given their life to defend what it means to be an American, but they feel forgotten and they feel alone. Imagine what it would be like for the faith-based community to knock on their front door, have a plate of lasagna, have a casserole, whatever it might be, and say, I want to tell you, thank you for what you did for this country. You are not forgotten. We appreciate what you have done. That is so powerful. That's what we're doing here. It's so, it's so common sense. It's so special. It's so unique. It's a model for the nation. Instead of saying, here's a handout, let's give you hope and a hand up to live up to your God-given potential, because I'll say this, and he talked about it, meeting immediate needs is so important, right? If you're struggling and you don't know what to do, the emotion of this, especially if you're a mom or a single dad and you're trying to figure out all these pieces, to have somebody show up and say, I got your back. We're there. We're going to put it together. We're going to figure it out. That does so much to give them a lot of hope. But then I think it's important to know that that doesn't end there, and it takes a hot minute, right? Like to be able to get to economic self-sufficiency or prosperity or purpose or whatever the end goal might be for you, right? It takes a minute to get there, because we've partnered with all 28 colleges across the state who are really great, who are saying, there are a lot of great skills that you can get to meet one of the, I think Alex will tell you, 600,000 available jobs that are out there. But you know what's neat about Hope Florida? It's not like, well, here's a job, here's this, we have a really cool conversation with people, and we say, what would you like to do? What interests you? What do you think you would like to do? And then here are the skills that you can get to be able to get a job to help you live up to your God-given potential, and at the end of the day, be happy. Because isn't that also what it says, and even in our founding documents, the right to be able to be happy? And so that does so much. But what Hope Florida does is it doesn't create anything new. It is not a bureaucracy. It de-silos everything. Even in talking with those navigators, I will say, since this guy has been elected, for the first time, the navigators with the agencies are coming together. So not only have we de-siloed, state and the nonprofits and the private sector, within state government, they're coming together to try to break down the walls, to collaborate, because some of these cases, too, are really complex, right? They might be a veteran who might be a senior citizen, so there's a lot of wickets and a lot of different ways to get help and hope. So you bring all of this together, you make it easily digestible, and then you help guide them. And one thing I thought was really powerful, you might have heard me say this like a broken record, but I truly believe this in my soul, and I've seen this in execution. The greatest thing that you can do to change the trajectory of a child's life, especially a child who's struggling, comes from maybe a troubled household with a lot of problems, is to give them mentorship, right? To give them the opportunity to see that they can do it, that if they just persevere and they work hard, that they can communicate with somebody, that person, that mentor, can give them value and give them worth and purpose. I've seen them change the trajectory of their lives. I've seen kids come through the Department of Juvenile Justice who have, been behind bars, and now they're entrepreneurs, and now they're class presidents, and they're going to college, and it's always been the mentorship component that's been such a big deal. I never really realized this until, relatively recently. But in talking with the navigators and going out, I now see the value of mentorship for adults. Just because you turn 18 doesn't mean you don't need someone fighting for you, right? Your young mom, a senior, whatever it might be, to have the avenue to be able to talk to somebody to help give that individual a path, and that you can't even put a dollar amount on any of that. And that's another thing that's really unique about Hope Florida, is the way that when people come into the government system. By the way, that happened because, the Great Society, they kind of tried to federalize the churches, and now people in need are coming into government. In the communities is where really the magic is. That's where all the players are ready and willing to be able to help. But when you have people coming into the government, to have somebody there to help them is huge. But what we do is we then go out and try to find people who are on government assistance. So if you're applying for government assistance, we call you and say, hey, we saw that you're signing up for these benefits. We say, well, where do you vision yourself in 2 and 5 and 10 years? And they said, and a lot of these people, like Ginger, and I could tell her a story, single mom of 2 kids, she said nobody had ever asked me that. No one had ever asked. No one had taken the time to show value in her and to say, where do you want to be? And then she feels energized and empowered. The navigator feels energized and empowered. And then you know what's neat is her kids have now witnessed, and by the way, she was working in a pool store selling pool chemicals, didn't know what to do, was having a hard time keeping the lights on. Now she's a certified medical professional, doing very well, economic self, but her kids saw what she did. They saw that the American dream is alive and well, that you can succeed in this great state, in this country. If you know the path, you put in a little sweat equity, you have a little bit of perseverance and grit, you can accomplish it. And so that's the power of all of this. And I would just again say this. This is not about politics. This is about doing good on behalf of the people who deserve a chance for someone to fight for them. And so I particularly am very honored and humbled to get up here to not only fight for those who really need help and someone to fight for them, but all the other good people who have been in the arena and they are fighting for individuals, the faith-based communities, the nonprofits, the private sector, who in their soul believe that what they're doing is a good thing. And so I'll just say, no matter what, we're just going to double down on hope, and we're going to continue to do good on behalf of the people of this state.
All right, Alex.
Well, Governor, First Lady, and thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Alex Kelly, Secretary of Commerce. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here with you today. Governor, for your leadership, First Lady, for yours, and just to really thank you and for all the tremendous efforts that you've done as part of Hope Florida, and really just to share some insights. I think, Governor, I think leading by example, Florida has remained vigilant in providing expansive opportunities, numerous opportunities for all job seekers and for all job creators to connect consistently in a robust way, in a way that does really support the individual's dreams and their individual's vision for themselves and their family. The Career Source Florida network, led by Adrian Johnston, the Career Source Board, which I'm a member of, and Florida's 21 local workforce boards play a vital role in connecting job seekers with employment and career development opportunities, and job creators equally with qualified skilled workforce. The Career Source Board, Florida Commerce, we have collaborated to support alignment with the Hope Navigators at each board. And Governor, you mentioned this, dedicated counterparts for the Hope Navigators to ensure there's that consistent connection, that consistent sort of handoff and relationship, and really following that individual on their pathway to self-sufficiency and staying with them, being a reliable, consistent voice for issues related to training, education, job counseling, and ultimately job placement. Governor, you cited some of the numbers. Local workforce boards have already served, closing in on more than 3,800, closing in on 4,000 Floridians who are referred from Hope Navigators, providing over 60,000 services to those HOPE participants, including over 5,000 job referrals. Ultimately, the most important piece. Over 3,000 of those individuals are now employed after receiving those services. And Governor, you said 87% of whom have seen wage gains, and not just wage gains, not just earning gains, but depending on their situation when they first came into the HOPE program, somewhere between a $13,000 to $24,000 a year increase in their household income, which is significant and confidence building and life changing. And additionally, as was mentioned, with the leadership of the governor and First Lady, the Career Source Board, Florida Commerce, by really working with partners like Mark and the team at the Florida Chamber, with TICO, with many partners in the private sector. Governor, as you mentioned, there's more than 528 and climbing number of employers around the state who are welcoming, supporting HOPE Florida participants. Those businesses, those HOPE Florida employers, they're really committed to making a difference for HOPE Florida participants to help them, get on that pathway to self-sufficiency, while balancing and overcoming those just work-life challenges that might have previously made that idea of self-sufficiency hard to see, a difficult vision. Working with those Floridians, whether it's part-time employment, flexible hours, flexible things related to childcare, other ways of getting that individual, maintaining their confidence, maintaining their focus, and getting them into the workplace, and the Career Source Board. In fact, tomorrow Adrian and I will be at the Career Source Board meeting where we're going to continue to approve next year's plan for continuing to support the HOPE Florida initiative, continuing resources that for businesses who want to participate but maybe haven't yet participated, and maybe you're thinking that they might need help with things like financial support and funding for job training to make sure that they do a great job supporting HOPE Florida participants. Those resources exist, and we'll continue to work together. And so again, just Governor, thank you for your leadership. First Lady, thank you. And I think it's Mark Wilson.
Okay, Mark, come on.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Again, Mark Wilson. I'm the president of Florida's Chamber of Commerce, and it's an honor to be here today. First of all, you would expect this from me, but as chamber president, I would just say this. If Florida was a stock, we would be investing as much as we could in it. And I want to say right now, HOPE Florida and the momentum HOPE Florida has is a huge reason why. It's what we call a tailwind, right? So thank you very much for everybody being here today. Alex, also, I can't help but acknowledge you're the Secretary of Commerce, and you got to think HOPE Florida in many ways is an economic development strategy, right? It's taking employers who need people to work, and it's taking people who may have lost hope, who now know about the hope of getting job training and getting an opportunity. And so thank you very much. It says a lot that the Secretary of Commerce would be here for this. Governor and First Lady, let me also acknowledge what you two have done since you showed up is nothing short of miraculous. We have right now the 16th largest economy on the planet. Florida's economy is bigger than Saudi Arabia's, and it has a lot to do with this guy right here and the policies that he's been able to bring forward. And Governor, as much as we all appreciate your leadership, to the First Lady, I want to specifically thank you very much. There are, I will tell you this, Casey, you have brought so much hope and so much opportunity to this state. If you look across the country, when it comes to bringing hope into zip codes and into families that otherwise wouldn't have had it, what you've done is second to none across the nation. And it's an honor of a lifetime to stand here and promote more companies finding out what HOPE Florida is, but specifically to work with Adrian, to work with Career Source, to work with HOPE Florida, to become HOPE Florida employers all over Florida. And that's what I want to do with my time in the next minute or so, is I just want to acknowledge there is not another program like it in the country. Folks, this is a philosophy. This is a belief, right? For the first time in our country's history, you have a leader who said, we're going to take the faith community, churches all over the place. We're going to take government, the goodness of government, and we're going to take now the goodness of the private sector, employers, and we're going to put all that together, right? And you know who benefits? The people who can become self-sufficient. Folks, nowhere else in the country is this happening, right? And so let me give an example. Our vision at the Florida Chamber is to support HOPE Florida so that we eventually, the governor talked about, we've hit the milestone, over 500 companies now have decided to be part of this. Folks, we are just getting started. Our vision is we have 67 counties. We want Hope Florida employers in all 67 counties. We're going to work with local chambers of commerce and economic developers to bring hope into the communities. Eventually, we want Hope Florida employers in every single zip code, 983 of them. It is going to once again show the country what hope is all about, and that's going to happen right here in Florida. I mentioned counties, and let me just end with this. Here we are in Hillsborough County today. This county needs about 136,000 more jobs by 2030. So just keep that number in mind for a second. Right now, today, I just checked the scorecard this morning. For every 100 open jobs in Hillsborough, there's only 74 people looking for work. Keep that number in mind for a minute. When we look at kids in poverty, we have about 53,000 kids in poverty in Hillsborough County right now today. There's 55 zip codes. Half of all the kids in poverty are in just 11 zip codes. So imagine for a second, at a time when there's more jobs than people looking, and we have almost 53,000 kids in poverty, imagine the hope, and imagine the promise, and imagine the connection that happens when churches and employers and government works together to say, we're actually going to find the people, we're going to connect them with navigators, we're going to work with Care Portal, we're going to work together through Hope Florida, and we're literally going to get people the job training and ultimately the jobs that they need. I'm so grateful for TICO, and we're going to hear from them in just a little bit. We are going to find employers. Over the next several years, we're going to find employers in every single zip code for this. And I want to end my time by just, again, thanking both of you, Governor and First Lady. You know, one of my favorite proverbs, 29:18, it says, where there's no vision, the people will perish. And if you play that out further, right, you also have to have hope in the middle of that. And Casey, what you have done to bring hope into an otherwise hopeless situation and come up with this concept, it's funny when people say it's an agency. It has nothing to do with an agency. This is a belief and a philosophy. I hope everyone here will leave today, go to the website, direct people to the number, talk to every company that you visit in the next month, whether it's a restaurant, whether you work at the company, whether it's somebody who supports your church. Let's get more and more employers learning what this is, because there's something really special about this. And thank you for putting hope in the middle of everything we're working on. And Jay, thank you for your service in advance. I know you're next. Governor, thank you.
Jay.
Well, good morning. It's always great to be here. James, thank you for what you do here at the Vault. Y'all are absolutely phenomenal. I can't think of a better venue in this area to host something like this. We love you guys. You're absolutely incredible. It's nice to see so many friends and family and people that we really care about here in the community, so thank you for being here. Mr. Governor, First Lady, Alex, Mark, thank you for what you do. Thank you for bold, decisive, focused leadership. We know that leadership matters. As a military guy, I've seen good leadership, I've seen bad leadership, and I know it when I see it. America knows it when they see it. And in Florida, we dang well know what we're looking at because we are leading the nation in so many ways. In this country, work has never just been about a paycheck. It's about pride, direction, dignity. It comes from living your life on your terms, owning what goes on. Growing up, many of you have heard me say this, I went through some hard times. I was born to a drug-addicted child. I was adopted by my grandparents. I lived through our family losing our farm. I lived through my dad passing away, my mom having a nervous breakdown. I lived in my truck part-time as a senior, and I can't help but smile because sometimes God put things in your path to grow you through those hard times. I can't help but smile because in this state, in this nation, somebody like me from a broken family without a whole lot of hope can achieve incredible things, because that is what America stands for. That is who America is. The most powerful word in the English language, to me, is tomorrow, because endemic to that is hope. Tomorrow's a new day. It's a fresh start. We can choose who we want to be. We can choose to leave our baggage behind us, and we can choose to achieve excellence in all that we do. That's what we do in Florida. You know, Ben Franklin once said, the Constitution only gives people the right to pursue happiness. You got to catch it yourself. Have you listened to what the governor, the First Lady, Alex, Mark, and so many people have said? That's what we're doing. That is the American dream. It's incredible. Hope Florida Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce, when we collaborate, when we realize that the government will never be the solution to the problem. Frankly, the government makes up a solution, causes two problems quite often, and then fails in all three. But here, and what Hope Florida frankly represents, is a level up on what government should do. When we realize that the government is not the solution, but working by, with, and through our communities, our leaders, our churches, across all faiths, that is how we solve problems. This is a level up on what government should be. And you know darn good and well it's going to come from a state like Florida under leadership like Governor DeSantis and Casey, because we do care. When you look at our government, you look at the people who are in charge, I promise you, we wake up and we go to bed and we are thinking about how we leave things better than we got it. Because ultimately, it's not about us. It's never been about me, it's about we. It's about we the people. It's not politics, as the First Lady said. It's about people, our communities. How do we leave things better so our children can prosper in what America has to offer? To our veterans, what I'll tell you is, y'all, it's the same mission. The battlefield changes. We drive ourselves for excellence each and every day, and tools like Hope Florida are ways to renew your focus in how we want to work around the government, how we want to solve problems in the community, and who we want to be. But leadership matters. You know, as I bring this in for a landing, I think it's fitting that we find ourselves in places like this more and more and more. We're having a discussion on what Florida wants to be. Now, we do need to land a budget. That's pretty important. We got till July 1st. But what we really want to discuss is, who do we want to be? Do we want to settle back for good enough? Or do we want to throw ourselves forward and drive and kick and scratch and fight for the things we've done over the last 6 years? I can tell you what I want. I choose excellence each and every day. Less legislative equivocation, more bold, decisive, focused leadership, because our people matter. Your voices matter. You have been clear in what you expect, and we will not fail in that. Because, and I'm going to sound a little bit like Leonidas from the 300 when I say this is Florida. We know what's right, we know what's wrong, and we're damn well going to do what's right, because we will not fail at what we do. Our people matter, and remember, when Florida leads, America wins. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, I'm David Nicholson from TECO, in many ways a representative of the private sector and what the private sector can do through Hope Florida. So Governor and First Lady wanted to just thank you for the emphasis that you put on resiliency, prosperity, self-reliance, self-sufficiency. And First Lady, you've been a champion for the most vulnerable, whether Floridians are suffering in the aftermath of a hurricane, which is really important to our business, battling illness, or have fallen on bad luck. You're their champion and their advocate. And what's so great about Hope Florida is it's built a pathway for Floridians to find prosperity through economic self-sufficiency. At Tampa Electric, we share that vision, and we want our communities to have a hope for a brighter future. Our primary business goal, of course, is to provide and deliver safe, reliable, and affordable power to the communities we serve. But our service to the community doesn't stop there. Each year we invest hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in shareholder funds, in events and organizations, but more importantly, our employees invest tens of thousands of volunteer hours to help our communities. At TECO, our investments are, we look for investments that align with our philanthropic priorities, which are promote prosperity, elevate education, champion conservation, and care for our communities. And Hope Florida fits every one of those. And we know it's an important step towards economic self-sufficiency, gainful employment. We've talked a lot about it. So we are proud partners with CareerSource, Hillsborough, Pinellas, and we work together to connect individuals who need a job with flexible employment options that are available. And I'm proud to say that we're one of those 500 employers that have become a partner with Hope Florida and the Employee Florida system. And part of what I want to do today is to encourage other employers to join us and join Hope Florida in that journey. We're proud to share Hope Florida's vision, and we believe that Floridians deserve the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, and we are honored to be part of this program that helps them get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tampa James, and I am very grateful and honored to be here. I'm here to share my success story with the Hope Initiative, and I just wanted to tell you I'm thankful. I was connected with Hope Florida through a food bank event after the Hurricane Milton, and I met a nice representative there who shared with me all of the ways that Hope Florida could assist me and help me with my employment barriers, industry knowledge and training, and I was also on the verge of homelessness. I took a leap of faith and actually reached out to Hope Florida and spoke with the navigator, who then got me connected with my assigned Hope navigator, Andreas Baez. And with that, he began to help me to see that there is a light over the barrier. I can continue on. Unemployment will be a thing of the past. And so he began to help me with my resume, updating it, making a more marketable one, assisted me with mock interviews to help me prepare because I was afraid. But once he was able to continue to speak to me, put hope back into my life to let me know that I can do this. You're not alone in this journey. And so he began to share with me positions, a list of them, and all of them were very interesting. However, there was one that really stood out to me, and it was a career coach. It stood out to me because I wanted to help others come from the situation that I came from and continue on that legacy with Hope Florida. It's just been a difficult journey during that time, and I'm very glad and I'm thankful for what Hope Initiative has done for me and my children. It has brought back restoration into my life of peace, stability, hope, faith. That's one thing I did not give up, and I'm so very, very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm very thankful for this initiative. It is definitely brings and restores hope, so I appreciate it, and thank you so much. It's an honor.
Well, great job. Thanks, everybody. We're really excited to bring more employers on and have them a part of this. There are definitely positions in Florida that are available, and we want to link people up with that. I would also just point out, just because we have Tico here, then we also just heard about after the hurricanes last year. We are approaching hurricane season, and I think that we're due for a break. But the minute you start saying that, I remember when Hurricane Ian came at the end of September 2022, it was like they were saying in June or in about this time, probably May of 2022, going to be the worst hurricane season ever. Then it was like almost the quietest. It was very quiet. And, June, July is not usually very high for it. Anyways, you can get them. As you get into August, particularly mid-August, the frequency of it happening, and then September and early October, probably mid-August to mid-October is kind of the peak, with September, probably late September is the absolute peak. So we get in August, nothing. First week of September, nothing. Second week, nothing. And then it's like, then people started saying, oh man, we're not going to have anything. The minute you start saying that, that's when you can't. So we'll see what happens in terms of this year. I definitely think, particularly the west coast of Florida, could use a break, but the reality is we're going to continue to be prepared. You hear these different things. I know the media is trying to make an issue of FEMA, this or that. Just know in Florida, our preparations and our immediate response always assumed FEMA wouldn't be there for us, okay? Now, there are different programs where you can apply for individual assistance, reimbursements, basically tapping into the bank account for the programs that are there that we utilize and encourage individuals to utilize if they're qualified to do it. But in terms of preparing, all the things that you've seen over the years in Florida, the rapid power restoration, that's not FEMA, that's our providers really taking it seriously. And it's not just the TECOs and the Dukes and the FPLs. You had the electrical co-ops. A lot of these are rural co-ops. They got the power back on after Milton faster than anybody. It was amazing. You have some of the municipals that have done a much better job. So I think that's a very good culture to try to restore services. It has nothing to do with FEMA. The immediate first response, we do have these urban search and rescue teams, which are technically mobilized under DHS, but these are all Florida people, right? We're bringing them from Miami, Orlando, these places as well. But we have great first responders locally. We put all our state assets, whether it's Highway Patrol, FDLE, Fish and Wildlife, National Guard, State Guard, you name it, we do that. And then once if you have something like the bridge in Pine Island, we went in and did it. We didn't ask for the federal government to pay for it. I didn't know if they would pay for it. And quite frankly, with Biden, I assumed that they would not want to help us with that. So we just did it. And, we rebuilt the bridge in 3 days through our State Department of Transportation. Same thing with the causeway. Same thing when you had Helene hit and you had all this debris everywhere. And, the debris, a lot of times the debris will take a long time. We wanted to try to facilitate locals to do more. When it became clear that we were going to get Milton, we sent in a lot of state assets. I pulled all these people off their jobs for Department of Transportation. We sent all these dump trucks to Pinellas County and Manatee and these places moving debris and 24/7. And when they tried to lock us out of the landfill, we broke through and kept using it and kept doing it. I mean, that was just something we had to do. And I do think the debris mission overall has gone better than they have in other hurricanes, because I think, again, there's a culture of that. But we were prepared for that one. Then when Milton came, it disabled the Port of Tampa and the Manatee for a time, which is where the fuel comes in. So we have contracts, so we set up these gas stations. Like, we're literally setting up these things. People come in and getting gas. It was free too. And you were able to do that because we had a couple days where, we weren't sure that some of these stations were going to do. So all the core things that I think people look to are locally and state executed. We assume that FEMA is not going to be there. Now, on some of the other stuff in terms of what you can tap into, individual assistance, emergency protected measure reimbursements, debris cleanup reimbursements, we'll have to see what's available or what's not available. I assume that will likely still be, those statutes are still on the books. I assume that people will still qualify, but who knows how generous and all that. So we're working through that. But on the core prep, response, and then stabilize and get people back to normal, just know that we've never relied on FEMA for any of that here in the state of Florida. It's our responsibility to lead at the state, working with our great folks at the local level, and to do that. And if we're called upon to do it again for this hurricane season, we will do it again. Okay, you guys have any questions? Yes. You can ask it to me, and if I think it's good for her to answer, then I'll pass it along to her. Go. Oh, you mean like having an independent run? Well, I'll let her come and take a swing and if she wants to, but here's the thing. You're seeing this stuff about a three-way race because people know if you have a D next to your name in this state, you are dead meat because this party is a disaster. And if you look at all the things that we've done, the Democrat Party in this state fought us tooth and nail on having the state open during COVID. They did not want your kids in school. Their main apparatchik, the teachers union, sued me in June of 2020 because they wanted the schools to be closed. I wanted your kids in school. They fought us on school choice. We've got 500,000 people on scholarships now. The Democrats opposed it. They fought our efforts to protect parents' rights in education. If it was up to them, you'd have first graders being taught that they can change their genders. That doesn't fly in Florida, but if they had their way, that's what would happen. We were the ones that led on restoring Everglades and doing the bee tree nourishment, all the things that have made such a big difference and we continue to do. Not them. We were the ones that have led on infrastructure, making sure we're having roads and all these things completed ahead of schedule and accelerate. You know, that was us. We were the ones that refused to indulge on weak-on-crime policies that were sweeping this country just a couple years ago. They wanted no cash bail. You just keep letting people out. They wanted to have California-style policies. You can steal $999 as long as you don't steal 1,000. Just take what you want. That's the type of stuff that they wanted. And so I think what you're seeing is you're seeing an effort for people to try to think if they remove that albatross around their neck, then somehow they're going to be viable. But here's the thing, you know, you can dress it up any way you want. If you put lipstick on a donkey, guess what? That thing's still a donkey. You want to go?
All I have to say is preach, brother. It's true, we got to save the Free State. But I would just say this, like, we literally just went through an election cycle, right? We're 100 days into the presidency. And you talk to a lot of people around the state, and they are so tired of politics. They want people to actually do their jobs. Like the great senator said, pass a budget. What a concept. Drives me a little bit crazy, and I think you hear this all the time too about these career politicians. There's really two types. One, they go around and they're going to tell you all the wonderful things that they're going to do, right? I'm going to do this, and if you vote for me, I'm going to go fight for this. I'm going to fight to double down on the Free State, everything that the governor has done. And then they get into office and they go rogue, and they tell you all the reasons why it can't be done, or they find that these special interests over here, maybe I'm going to align myself a little bit more with them than I am the people who actually put me in office. And then there are other career politicians who go out there and they tell you, I'm going to fight, I'm going to do all these things, I'm going to stand with the governor, I'm going to fight and keep the state free, I'm going to go battle the swamp up in Washington. And then when they actually get into a position, they decide, well, actually, I'm going to use it to subsidize myself to run for another office, because it's not about doing the job that you told the people that you would do. And at the end of the day, the people sitting in this room and the people across the state of Florida and beyond want good policies that matter to the people.
All right. Yes, sir. Based on what? Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you this has been a very successful program. It's made the lives change dramatically. And I think that everything that's been thrown at it is pure politics. And I don't think it's appropriate to be doing politics, whether it's a congressional or a state committee or any of these other things. I believe in this program deeply, and I stand by it 100%. Yeah, but that's a different situation. So you have an obligation to support and defend the Constitution. And there are times when you have to make judgments about that. Now, those state attorneys were basically saying they didn't want to enforce statutes that the legislature had done. They made their arguments as to why, but ultimately, I didn't find those arguments to be persuasive. On this one, I think that I said when this bill was passed, I wasn't governor yet, but I said I thought that it was unconstitutional to completely supersede the rights of young adults and to just take them out of the Second Amendment entirely. I understand why they did it, because it was an emotional time, but I don't think that that's consistent with the state constitution. So that's different than just saying laws that have been passed you don't like, You can say they're unconstitutional, but that's got to be credible. It is credible. There's a lot of people who have contested the constitutionality of suspending entirely someone's right under an enumerated provision of the Constitution. I mean, it's not just saying I have a right to this. There's an enumerated provision. You've got people that are 18 years old that will be sent halfway around the world to carry a rifle in the Marine Corps. Then they finish that and they're 20 and they can't buy a rifle to go hunt. I think that's a big problem. So I was against it on constitutional grounds at the time, and I think it's a good faith position. Well, I think one you've been hearing about is property tax relief. And I think it's really important. I think it would make the state, it would take us to the next level if we could have a situation where you actually owned your home and you weren't having to cut a check every year to the government. So that's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to require a lot of collaboration. But ultimately, I think we're on the right side of the public on that. Now, fortunately, you've heard me speak over the last few months about my dissatisfaction with some of the things that have gone on, particularly with the Florida House of Representatives, and I've been very clear. I think that they've missed an opportunity. But I also will say, I called the special session for immigration enforcement in January. We got that done against some opposition, but we got it done. We're now leading the country in working with the Trump administration to enforce immigration laws. In fact, of all the agencies that are signed up on 287G, more than half are from Florida. So that's going to be something we're going to continue to do. I think it's really important. I know a lot of people fought us on it, but we need to continue to lead on that and do. So we got that. We also got the reform of the petition process to ensure the integrity of that. I think it's really important. I think it's something that's very meaningful, and that wasn't easy to do. We had a lot of opposition to that, but we were able to get it done. The other thing that I'll be signing soon is relief from the condo crisis. You had people that were going to be forced out of their condos potentially because of legislation that had come down the pike, and I think that that's something that needed to be done. Should have been done in January, but we finally got it done. So we're still getting important things done. Now I will say, when I ran in 22, I laid out the most ambitious agenda in the country, and every single thing I told you I'd do, we've done. 100%. And then some. I mean, you got a bonus on a lot of this stuff. So that's really what it is, over-delivering. We've done that. We're going to continue to do it. There's always more issues that come down the pike, but the things that I promised, I'm happy that we were able to deliver. Thanks, everybody. God bless you.